In 2025, we had a lot of clients at Clara CFO Group that ran into some cash flow challenges. And this is going to happen when you have customer demand decreasing, or maybe customers are just taking longer to pay, or maybe just your cost structure has built up and costs have increased over time. So in 2025, we ran into this a number of times where we needed to help clients through rebalancing that so that we can improve cash flow. That expenses, we had to reduce expenses, and then we also had to think about other ways to increase cash flow coming into the business because they were, experiencing things like decreased demand and whatnot. So what I thought I would share with you today is 5 cash flow habits that businesses that are financially strong do on a regular basis. So if that sounds interesting, please stay tuned. If you don't know me, my name is Hannah Smolinski. I am the founder of Clara CFO Group, and we support B2B service companies with financial strategy through our fractional CFO services. So if you're interested in looking and learning more about fractional CFO services, you can check out our link in the description box below and reach out to us, and I'd be happy to have a chat with you. So let's talk about how do we have a financially strong service business. And I want to talk specifically to service businesses because we have some interesting cash flow challenges, especially when you're in the B2B space where maybe you are invoicing other businesses. It might be a little bit different if you are B2C, where maybe your cash flow is a little bit more constant because you're constantly serving customers and that money is constantly coming in. Now, if you're B2C, what often happens is that money comes in larger chunks, and maybe it isn't super consistent all the time. And so what we find is that oftentimes B2B service companies have very lumpy cash flow, where maybe lots of money comes in at one point in time, and then maybe no money comes in at different points in time. Now you can smooth that out in lots of different ways by maybe changing your billing practices and things like that, but that's not the purpose of this video. What I want to talk to you about today are what are those habits that businesses that are very cash flow healthy, that they have healthy cash flow, what are they doing in order to maintain that financial health? Okay. So the first thing that those businesses are doing is and those business owners, that they are understanding the inflows and the outflows of their cash. So they're understanding their business to know the timing of their big inflows and outflows, and also getting a sense of the scope and the scale of those on a regular basis. They are really understanding what their business is spending money on. So a business owner that is going to be really healthy with their cash flow, they're going to understand, how much their payroll is every 2 weeks. Is their payroll every 2 weeks, or is it every, on the 15th and the 30th of every month? Is it monthly? They're going to understand what it is, and so that they can anticipate those types of expenses. They're also going to understand generally, what does their cash inflows look like? So are they getting big lump sums because they invoice maybe their customers on the first of the month, and then they know that they're going to receive most of that invoiced money by the end of the month, or maybe they know it's going to be 45 days later, that they have some understanding of how the function of their business is running, that they have kind of insights into it because they understand their numbers. Okay. So that's going to be the first habit, is basically a business owner that's not sticking their head in the sand and hoping for the best. Okay. This is a business owner who's curious and is actually involved and trying to understand that inflow outflow. They know when the credit card is due, and they understand if they have any big vendor invoices that need to be paid. Now, the second habit of businesses that have strong financial cash flow is that they are also regularly reviewing their financial statements. So this goes with point number 1, is that yes, they understand the operational side of their business, but then they're also going to be doing financial reviews for every single month in a timely manner. Okay. So they're not going to be sticking their head in the sand, that they're going to review financials on a regular basis, and they're going to review it within the first 10 to 15 days after the month closes, so that they can see, where are we? And are we in a good position? Is there anything that is raising a red flag that we need to deal with now before it becomes an issue 3 months down the road? Okay, so they're going to be keeping their eyes on the important numbers and knowing what to look at, and they're going to be reviewing those financial statements every single month. Okay, the third habit of businesses that have healthy cash flow is that they are going to build up a buffer of cash and they're not going to be running on empty. Okay. For small business owners, cash is the lifeblood of the business. If you do not have cash, it makes it very hard to operate and it raises stress levels of everybody involved. So think of having cash as fuel for your business. And also, I like to think about this like, if you were an athlete, you would be fueling your body with good food, right? You wouldn't be going out and running a marathon when you are super hungry and you have no snacks with you and you are going to go out and try to run 26 miles, okay? So think about that like for your business as well. You can't go the distance and have a business that's going to have longevity if you don't have the fuel needed to be able to fund those operations, okay? So businesses that are operating always really close to zero, it's not going to be healthy for them. So the healthy businesses are the ones that build up a cash buffer in their accounts. So we recommend having 3 to 6 months of operating expenses depending on your business model. And operating expenses is going to be, the amount of money you need to make all of your regular payments in your business. So your payroll, your rent, your, basically everything to keep the lights on in your business. Okay. So if your business experienced like a major decrease in sales, for example, that your business could run and operate for a few months with no income if it really needed to. Okay. Now, we recommend 3 to 6 months of operating expenses. So if your operating expenses, let's say, were $20,000 per month, we would recommend somewhere between $60,000 to $120,000 in a cash buffer. Now, that might seem really extreme, and I will say that it takes a while for a business to build up to this point, okay? So it's not like you can just do it overnight, but it does take discipline, but you can do it. And we've seen business owners that we work with, achieve those buffer amounts. And just basically it makes that business owner so much more relaxed because they know they have that cash in the bank, okay? I would say you might want to consider even more than 6 months if your business is very highly volatile or extremely seasonal, okay? So if you are the type of business that maybe you might take in $1 million in income in 1 month, but then you might not see any more income for 9 to 12 months, then that, even though you got that money ahead of time, it still is very volatile. Like I would call that a very volatile business. And so if you don't have consistent cash flow over a period of time, then you might want to consider having that larger buffer and build up to maybe 12 months of cash. Now, for our business at Clara CFO, we are on retainer services with clients. So every month we get paid by clients at the beginning of the month for the services rendered. And so we actually are on the lower end of that cash buffer because we have a very consistent, we know the money that's going to come in every single month. So if we were getting like prepayments or we were getting potentially just like large chunks of money at one point in time and then waiting, then we would probably build up our cash buffer to be larger. But healthy businesses are always going to have a good cash buffer so that they're never running on empty. Now, the fourth habit for healthy cash flow in a business is that you want to forecast your cash flow, okay? So we've talked about historical, we've talked about understanding your financials and reviewing your financials on a monthly basis, but we also want to be thinking about what is on the horizon. What do we have coming up that might increase our need for cash? Or what opportunities do we have that we can make decisions on if we can invest in that or if maybe we need to say no? So you need to be able to have some kind of mechanism to forecast out what's coming in and what's going out. So at the very minimal, we like to see people using just a simple Excel spreadsheet. Now we offer one for free. You can download it at any point in time at claracfo.com/cashflow. And we can also put a link in the description box below to the video that goes along with that, which I can show you how to use the cash flow forecast. But what you want to be doing is at a very minimum, be looking about 3 months ahead in what is coming down the pike. And if you are like, that's how you kind of have to stay ahead of it, okay? Especially for service-based businesses, because you need to see what's coming in, because sometimes if things aren't coming in the way that you expect them to, like maybe your invoicing is lower than it needs to be because maybe you lost a client contract or something like that, then you need to start looking at your expenses to see where you could potentially cut your expenses and keep your cash flow in a healthy spot, okay? So this ties directly into the fifth habit that I want to tell you guys about, and that is that you use your cash flow forecast to help you make decisions. So like creating the cash flow forecast is one of the habits and maintaining it, but then actually using it to as a decision-making tool is that fifth habit. So, and how you do that is that you have your numbers forecasted out, and then if an opportunity comes your way, you plug it in. So for example, maybe the opportunity is that you have a new potential contract to work with a new client that you've never had before. And you might be able to put it in, and maybe it's a retainer of $10,000 per month. However, you do not currently have the labor to be able to support that contract, so you need to hire some additional help in order to serve this client. And if that's the case, it might be a $5,000 a month additional expense in labor in order to do that. But maybe you need to pay a sign-on bonus for that new potential employee, or maybe you need to move them here and relocate them. So you can actually plan for those expenses, put them into the forecast, and see how much better off you'll be with those new additional expenses and that new revenue. Or maybe it's just a one-time investment. Maybe you're trying to fix a marketing problem and you want to hire a marketing company to come in and do a project for you and help you kind of revamp your marketing system. Maybe it's a $20,000 investment. That's going to be a direct hit on your cash flow, but hopefully down the road, it should help increase revenue, but you don't know exactly how much to anticipate that increased revenue to be. So you just need to assume for the time being that that is just going to be a direct expense without necessarily projecting any return on investment. So can you afford that if you're not seeing a return on investment in a short amount of time? Because most marketing investments do not turn around in a short amount of time. They usually, especially for service-based businesses and especially for B2B, they usually take some time to actually move the needle on the revenue side. Okay. So that just gives you an example of like how you would use that cash flow forecast to actually make decisions and improve your business overall. Okay, so this is just a few healthy habits that businesses that have strong cash flow, this is some of the habits that they do. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that you understand those. If you have any other questions, please make sure to put them in the comment section below, and hopefully that this has been helpful for you. I want you to be on the healthy side of things, and I want you to have healthier cash flow in 2026. So if you guys have any other questions, please put them in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.